I'll never forget that listener who said, I told my film school professor about this, and he said, you guys are so wrong. Welcome to Recotopia, a happy home for recommended movies, TV shows, music, video games, foodstuffs, and more from three people you can definitely trust. Trustability varies by region, no guarantees implied. And now, here are your hosts, Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Aaron Dicer.
Hi, I need a refill of this. I don't have a prescription.
Sir, please wait your turn.
I know, but this is an emergency.
Hey, buddy, ever heard of a line?
Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and being until you pissed blood?
Hello, everybody. It is Recotopia, episode 190, and our final episode of Recotopia ever. My name is Chris Atkinson, joined by Jeremy Scott.
Hello, everybody.
And joined by Aaron Dicer and a dog in the background.
Yes. Highly ho, pissed blood, Areno.
Nice. I believe this episode is basically going to be normal, although we will have some parting shots and filing our grievances at the end of this episode, and we'll do all that type of stuff. But anyway, once again, welcome chat who have come out here to watch us talk about movies one more time on a Tuesday. Welcome you guys out here. Thank you so much for coming out. Probably a few more than usual, I would say, because they know it's our last one, and we appreciate you guys. Mm-hmm. Today's big recommend is Matchstick Men. Can't wait to get into that one. And let's start off with our small recommends.
It's no big deal.
Itty bitty living space.
It's so small and light.
It's small, it's tiny, it's petite, it's wee.
And Jeremy, what do you got?
I last week was flipping channels, as I am wont to do, and came across The Descendants, a George Clooney movie by Alexander Payne. And it's one of his better films, I think. It's certainly one of my favorite of his films. And it demonstrates, again, how good he is at using places, locations, to not only immerse you in the story, but like even underscore some of the themes. Like here we have Hawaii, and we've got this beautiful scenery in the background of this heartache that this family is going through. But it also comes back into play by the end of the film, because Clooney is part of a trust of cousins who own a bunch of land, and they're about to sell it and get really rich. And all of those themes and his decision at the end are sort of mirroring what's been going on throughout the film. He's playing a man whose wife is in a coma, has got in an accident on a boat, and they're about to pull the plug as per her will. And so the film is him going around with his daughters, telling friends and family it's time to come say goodbye. At the same time, he's just found out his wife was cheating on him, and he's trying to find the guy. I guess that's really all I would tell you. It's just a really charming, heartwarming story that has some laugh out loud moments, especially with the daughter's boyfriend, who's this, you would think a typical stoner, but ends up having some really priceless moments. I just really enjoyed it. I don't remember where I saw it. Let me see. The Descendants. This is great radio. It's on HBO. So there you go. The Descendants.
I really, really love this movie. I haven't seen it in a while. I feel like this was like a launching pad for someone who was going to have a huge career in Shailene Woodley, and I think that's kind of died down a little bit. I don't know what's kind of happened to her. Maybe she's priming herself for a comeback, but man, that was just a tremendous, I don't know if it was debut, but it was the first time I had ever seen her.
Let's just say
she's great.
She dated Aaron Rodgers for a better part of a year.
Oh, that works too. Yeah. So, yeah, everything he touches dies, apparently. So
I love The Descendants. It is one of my favorite movies, and in my brain, anytime I want a little smile, I can just imagine George Clooney running across the streets of Hawaii. That scene always just
in his flip-flops.
In his flip-flops. It just always makes me laugh.
I love when Grandpa says to the stoner boyfriend, "I'm going to hit you," and then pops him right in the face.
It's so good.
Aaron, what do you got?
Boy, I had trouble picking between two movies that I absolutely adored, and just as I was thinking, well, I'll save the other one for next week, I remembered that I won't be able to save the other one for next week. So what I won't be small recommending today is Wake Up Dead Man. I will not be recommending one of the most incredible ensemble casts I've ever seen doing some of the most incredible fun comedy work I've ever seen, and I won't be recommending possibly the most potent takedown of Christian nationalism I've ever seen in a movie. And that's
I'm glad you're not recommending that today.
That's what I won't be recommending today.
That would be an error. That would be a mistake. Yeah.
What I will be recommending is Train Dreams. Both of these, by the way, Netflix movies. Train Dreams already out. Wake Up Dead Man, I think, is in theaters this week and then will be out in a couple weeks on Netflix. Train Dreams blew me away. And the reason I landed on focusing on this one is because I think it's one of those movies that can easily go under the radar for a lot of people. It stars Joel Edgerton, Felicity Jones, Will Patton, Carrie Condon, and an absolute bravura performance from William H. Macy, who I just think is incredible in this movie. I think he should be nominated. I think he will be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He's so good in this. This is one of those movies that sucks you into just the reality of its characters. It takes you through the good, the bad, the very bad, the traumatic, and allows you to live with them enough that when you start to feel like the humanity that's going on in this, you just start to feel like these characters are so important to you. Like, it gives you that empathy in a way that great movies do. This follows this man in the, I'm going to say, from the later 19th century to the mid 20th century. His entire life is in this movie, and you get such a sense for how crazy it must have been to be a human being born into the technology of the mid 1800s and live to see people on the moon in the mid 1900s. You know what I mean? Like, there's that kind of stuff in it that is almost secondary to the primary stuff, which is just about how to find what the beauty of life really is. The final scene in this, I was in tears. I was weeping. It really played to my love of the idea of optimism not being ignoring the trauma or the bad, but in understanding that it's the focus and, how you view things that allows you to find the beauty even amongst the trauma. Anyways, this movie blew me away. So I had to give it a big recommend.
I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen a trailer. So I'm going to ask you a question as the only person on this panel, I believe, that can answer this question.
Sure.
Does that title work?
Yes.
Okay. Because it doesn't work from the outside. Like, I think it's one of those titles that you have to see the movie to understand why it's called that.
Probably. I mean, it has on its face, this man worked on the railroads, and that impacted his life in such a way that he deals with actual nightmares, and there's an actual part of this movie in a very literal sense.
All right.
And then if you broaden it to the metaphor of what the movie says, then it works that way too.
Oh, just on title alone, I assumed it was Hoop Dreams, but for conductors.
You got it.
Yep.
Sorry, I used way too many words. Let me start again.
They're looking at 15-year-old conductors in inner city Chicago and hoping that they can find someone who's really good at it. But oh man, the price of fame of being a train conductor. Okay, so you'll hear this in the outtakes. I had an incredibly crazy time trying to come up with a small recommend for this final episode that we're doing today. And I thought for sure out of the 6 movies that I saw in the past week, I'd be able to say, hey, one of them's good. And then no, it just never materialized. So I went to something easy, something that I haven't seen in a long time that I knew for a fact that I would like and I would like to recommend today, and it's Wallace and Gromit and Curse of the Were-Rabbit. This movie came out in 2005 and was a shining light in that year that I've always considered the worst. If you've never seen Wallace and Gromit, do yourself a favor and find the Wrong Trousers and the various shorts that come out. Unfortunately, I noticed that you can't find the shorts on streaming, at least not in the United States, but you can find this movie and the one that came out last year on Netflix. So if you've never seen this, go for it. But this story is Wallace and Gromit have a sort of an extermination quote unquote service called Antipesto that they have set up to help the town with their rabbit problem. Everybody's got these vegetables that they're growing for this huge contest, and so they have hired them as sort of the rabbit cops in this story. So, and anytime there's something that there's an alarm that goes off, they immediately firemen go out to somebody's house and take the rabbit out of the situation. Of course, they are a humane service, so they're just keeping the rabbits as pets basically in their basement the entire time. The other story to this is Wallace is way too fat and Gromit wants to start feeding him vegetables. So Wallace has an invention that is supposed to suck out all the need for fatty foods. That's what he creates an invention for that. And then at some point, there's a plot convergence here where they think that the best way to make the rabbits not want to eat the vegetables is to strap them to this machine. And unfortunately, what happens as a result is this giant rabbit is going around terrorizing the neighborhood and destroying all the vegetables. To tell you any more would be a crime. And so you should watch this movie on your own if you have never seen it and if you've never seen a Wallace and Gromit, you can start with any of them. It doesn't really matter which one you watch. This is a great one to start with, so highly recommend this one.
It is so good. I love the sense of humor that Aardman brings to all its movies. It's very wordplay forward, very reference forward, things that I adore and I love. And cheese forward, like any good dish. Keep you alive longer. Eat that cheese. Reference to the outtakes. You'll get it someday.
Yep, exactly.
This is a great one. I think this is one of the best Aardman films. I think I like Chicken Run better. I think Chicken Run is probably my favorite. But man, if you haven't seen Shaun the Sheep movie, that's really good. That's on HBO Max. I think streaming there if you want to check that out. Even the one my least favorite was the Pirates.
The pirate one, yeah.
Yeah, it's still fun. It's still a lot of fun.
What was the pirate one?
It's called, let me look it up. It's called Pirates. Let me see, I have The Pirates, ! In an Adventure with Scientists, !
No, I've never heard of that at all. I'll need to watch that. I also like Flushed Away quite a bit.
Yeah,
too.
Flushed Away is really fun too. I cannot recommend their stuff enough. It's so good.
Flushed Away just came out in the shadow of Ratatouille, right? Was that the problem?
Yeah, think so. I don't. It might have come out before Ratatouille. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure. I can't remember.
But if you know at that time, if you know Pixar's coming out with an animated rat movie, it's gonna have a lot more of your attention than this one. But
yeah, exactly. All right, on to our big recommend, which is Matchstick Men, and it's Jeremy's choice. So Jeremy, take it away.
I'm fine. It's just that you're so big.
It's so huge.
It's a good rule, but this is bigger than rules.
It's bigger on the inside.
Is it? I noticed.
Matchstick Men. This is one of those where every now and then for Recotopia, I will, if I think my wife might enjoy a movie, I'll send her the trailer and say, hey, do you want to watch this one with me while I do research for the show? And this time she did. And as soon as it ended, she said, that was outstanding. And it made me really, really happy. Matchstick Men is a 2003 con man comedy drama about Roy Waller, played by Nicolas Cage. who has some tics and obsessive compulsive disorder. I forgot to mention this synopsis will be a little shorter than traditional because we're trying to save some room for those grievances Chris mentioned. Roy and his partner Frank, played by Sam Rockwell, run cons for a living, specifically a con involving a water filtration system and phony sweepstakes prizes. We repeatedly see him interact awkwardly with a cashier at the local grocery that he clearly likes. One day, after Roy knocks his medication down the drain, he spirals and spends days cleaning his apartment until Frank comes over and suggests he visit a new psychiatrist. Frank makes the appointment for him. The new therapist, Dr. Klein, insists that Roy actually do therapy before giving him any pills, and he gets him talking about his ex-wife. Eventually, he does give Roy a new medication he calls Prefex, and it gets Roy back to normal in short time. Roy ends up calling his ex-wife, but can't bring himself to speak, so then he later asks Dr. Klein to call her for him, and that would be really unprofessional, but Dr. Klein decides to do it. And that's when he learns that Roy has a 14-year-old daughter named Angela, played by Allison Lohman. Dr. Klein encourages Roy to make contact with the girl, and as he's doing so, we see him move a chess piece on his chessboard. Roy meets up with Angela, and it goes incredibly well. And he is so filled with vigor, he decides to do a long con with Frank that Frank has been bugging him for a long time to do. They plan to steal from Chuck, a wealthy businessman, by engaging him in an illegal currency swap that somehow benefits both parties, and eventually screw him over by swapping out the final briefcase. Angela shows up at Roy's house and asks to stay there for a few days because she's had a fight with her mother, and Roy agrees. Over this time, they argue, but then start bonding as he agrees to teach her how to con someone. He takes Angela along with him to visit his safety deposit box, and even gives her signature approval, but does not give her the passcode or let her see the contents of the box. They even go bowling together, as she had once suggested. While bowling, Frank calls Roy to tell him that Chuck's flight has been bumped up, and they have to finish the con today, right now. Roy doesn't have any time to take Angela anywhere and just takes her with him to the con. He even gives her a small role to play as a distraction. After the con in the parking garage, Roy and Angela are confronted by a very pissed off Chuck, and a big chase ensues, but Roy gets away. They meet up at the rendezvous with Frank, and that's where they learn that Angela has been arrested before and will be a face and fingerprints known to the police. He drops Angela off, telling her never to call him again. Alone, Roy's fears and tics start growing, and when he runs out of his meds and goes to the pharmacy to beg for more pills, he learns they were a placebo. And he confronts Dr. Klein, and Roy is told that his psychosis isn't even all that serious, and he doesn't need medication. Klein also tells Roy he knows that he's a criminal, but Roy defends himself by saying he doesn't steal. All those people willingly gave him their money. Eventually, Roy reaches out to Angela again, and they start hanging out. After a dinner, they come home to find a beaten Frank and a gun-holding Chuck, who is still angry about that money. Angela is told to fetch some money from the ceramic dog, which we know she's seen before and we know contains a gun. And sure enough, she returns to the room, pointing the gun at Chuck, and eventually shoots him. Frank says he doesn't think Chuck's going to make it, so Roy panics and has Frank take Angela off to a remote motel to wait for him while he tries to get rid of the body. Only once he goes back inside, the body is gone, and Roy is knocked unconscious. When he comes to, he's in a rather large hospital room and is immediately confronted by two law enforcement agents who demand to know where Frank and Angela are. They know Angela pulled the trigger due to fingerprints. Chuck is dead. Roy says that he was the shooter, and he declines to talk further unless he gets to talk to his therapist, which is a very strange request. But the agents reluctantly agree. And then Roy tells Dr. Klein his passcode for the safety deposit box, instructing him to give the code to Angela so that she can get the cash and run away forever. After some time passes, Roy is very hot and begins calling for someone to turn on the AC, eventually stumbling out of bed and out of the room, only to realize he's in a fake hospital room on the roof of an abandoned building. He has been conned. He goes to Klein's office and, like Michael Douglas in the game, finds it empty with no trace of the previous business. He goes to the bank and finds his box empty. And back at home, he finds a letter from Frank inside the dog confessing to having long conned Roy out of all his money. Roy goes to the place where he's been dropping Angela off, and his ex-wife does actually live there, which always surprises me. And then he asks to see Angela, only to realize Angela was not his daughter and was in on the con, and he does not even have a daughter. 1 year later, Roy is a carpet salesman, which is a thing, apparently still, and a young couple enters the store looking for a rug, and surprise, it's the director of critically acclaimed former Big Recommend Mass.
Yes.
Oh, and also Angela. Roy doesn't reveal what he knows about her, and they even get to share a private conversation where they both remember the good times they had together, and she reveals that Frank screwed her out of her cut of the con anyway. Roy tells her not to feel sorry because she didn't take it, he gave it to her. In the final sequence, we see Roy return home free of anxiety and tics as he snuggles up behind the cute cashier who is now pregnant with what I assume is Roy's child. And that is Matchstick Men. Gentlemen, what did you think?
Oh, I love this movie. I haven't seen it since it came out, and I'm pretty sure that I loved it even then. It's just that for whatever reason, it's one of those movies that slipped through the cracks of being a second viewing. I don't know how that works, but anyway, I was glad to return to this one. This is a movie you can pick on. All three of the leads here as great. Like
Yes.
they are all doing something different and unusual that I will say Sam Rockwell is like an all-time cad in every movie. Like now, like he's gotten to this point now though. Like if I had never seen this movie before, I would have probably guessed the surprise of all of this well beforehand because he's been that guy for a really long time now, but I love Sam Rockwell. He does this kind of thing better than anybody else. Nicolas Cage is doing what we expect Nicolas Cage to do, but is kind of reined in slightly, like enough where it's not just, you're not going there to see some wacky, wild Nicolas Cage performance, but he does manage to pull it off, especially in the pharmacy scene, which is just an absolute fantastic part of that movie. But Alison Lohman, who's like 23 years old when she does this movie, very believable as a 14-year-old all the way through. In fact, I believe this is how she auditioned, and Ridley Scott didn't even know how old she was when she did this. So it's crazy how good she is. I don't know if it's a contrivance, but I still like it. I like the fact that this is his life. This is Nicolas Cage's life throughout this movie, is that he is extremely good at conning. He's obviously successful at it, but his life sucks. So like, it's one of those things where his life sucks, and man, if only something were to happen to keep him from conning anymore, he could probably get on with his life, basically, is what it comes down to. And so it does seem kind of like a big contrivance at the end where, we've been seeing him interact with the grocery store girl this whole time. And then he gets robbed, which should be like the biggest thing that's ever happened in his life, something that's so devastating that he can never recover from it. But it actually turns out to be the biggest positive in his life, that he got robbed blind, because now he can have like a legit life. And he's a carpet salesman, but he's probably good at that since he's a good con man. Now he's got the wife with the kid, and it's like, oh, this is what I always wanted the entire time, and I don't have these tics anymore and all that. It's like, so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this movie is a way too happy ending for this character, but at the same time, it works for what it's doing. So I can get down with that. I really can. So in the end, this is a fun con movies seem to be always fun. Just like I just feel like these. You just see all the different things that they're pulling and all the things that they're thinking about beforehand. I love that whole thing where he's telling him, I need to be sitting in this one part, and you need to make sure that that's available to me. And he and he comes in, and Bruce McGill is sitting in the spot where he's supposed to be sitting. You can see that level of annoyance and everything, but it's so important to pull this thing off. How is he supposed to whip around and get the briefcase when he's not being able to sit in that spot? But all these little things that they're thinking about that have to be implemented into the con for it to work. It's the type of thing that I loved about Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, especially, where there's this whole like, maybe this isn't for you. I don't want to do this, blah, 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 that type of thing that keeps going through these cons, where it's like, and wouldn't someone who's really eager to con somebody be very eager to do the con? Like, they just keep like doing that whole, like, that was the thing they do with Bruce McGill. It's like, well, maybe this isn't for you or whatever. And then that's when they get more money out of him and everything. You appeal to somebody's ego enough and whatever. So I love seeing all the things that go into the cons and everything. They're really fun. So yeah, in the end, love this movie. Glad you recommended it.
I like this movie quite a bit. I don't think I love it as much as you guys do, but it is really fun.
Final episode. You know what? This is beyond the pale, Aaron. You didn't love it?
To be honest. Look,
you didn't love it?
I didn't love it. Look,
right,
I really have a good time with this movie. I think it's really fun. I think the performances are amazing. You mentioned Alison Lohman, who I think is the standout for me in this movie. I just think she's incredible. Like the charisma she has on screen to play both of the characters she plays. One of them she only plays for, a couple minutes at the end or whatever. And to have them both be so complete and so interesting. It's really, really good stuff. I think Nicolas Nicolas Uncaged, as he later became, is Nicolas Caged at this part of his career. And it's interesting for me to think of Nick Cage kind of a little bit like Pacino. Like Pacino entered this level where he just became the caricature. And I think sometimes Nicolas Cage has become the caricature of himself in movies. And so it's kind of interesting to see them at those crossing points. And I think this is one of those crossing points for him before he really went full Cage.
Yeah, it's funny. The Scent of a Woman really is what got Al Pacino to start doing that a lot. He had done it before, obviously.
Right,
He'd always had those like moments of outbursts, and all that. But like Scent of a Woman, he won an Oscar for it, which is funny because Cage won his for probably one of the most muted performance, even though he's really good in Leaving Las Vegas. It's he went on to start like, I want to do all this crazy stuff after Leaving Las Vegas. So anyway,
I think what I appreciate about Cage in this movie, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupting you.
Go for it.
Is how he is able to dial up and down the physical and verbal tics based on where his character is in the story. Like, as he starts bonding with his quote-unquote daughter, that stuff starts to fade away. And I think, especially since most movies are shot completely out of sequence, it's worth pointing out that he does a really good job taking that up and down based on where his character is in the story. Go ahead, Aaron, sorry.
No, you're good, and I agree. I think he does a fabulous job. And I remember watching it this time. I remembered my first watch. And sometimes that'll happen where, time has passed enough that you kind of forget, what you thought the first time through. And I remembered that I was a little bit peeved at the big twist at the ending, because I felt like it messed some stuff up for me. Not just on a plot structural level, although there is some contrivance there and a little bit of that, like, let's talk about the villain's plan thing, where it's like, is this intricate of plan really necessary to get all of his? Once she's in and she's got his password, like, can't you just go take it? You know what I mean? Like, so there's a little bit of that.
But she doesn't get the password.
She doesn't get the password.
And in fact, there's a whole scene where he says, I won't give it to you until I'm dead or whatever. So so yeah, I wonder if that was the initial plan, was that he would be, he would be
that's true.
Loose with it. And they didn't get to that point.
But they have his therapist set up before that. So I don't know. It's really interesting. The therapist is interesting to me.
If we send this movie, the plan that Sam Rockwell has is got all sorts of mistakes in it and errors. There's no doubt about that. No doubt.
But mostly, it did one of those things, not the movie's fault, my fault, did one of those things where I was getting to an end that I was really looking forward to, which was that this would be more, this is a terrible example because they're definitely different movies, but more of a Moneyball kind of father-daughter, kind of realizing your priorities kind of ending. And it still in a roundabout way tries to get there, but because she was in on it, that left a really bad taste in my mouth. I remember watching it the first time. Now, watching it this time, knowing who all is in on it the whole time, I actually think I liked it a little better than the first time. The first time I came out with a bad taste in my mouth. This time I got to kind of see the movie for what it's trying to be, like what it's presenting to me, not my preconceived, here's how I want it to go kind of stuff. So yeah, this is a really fun movie. I love the performances. And yeah, I do have a couple questions. I think Jeremy, you would be great to talk about these questions dealing with like mental health and stuff. Yeah. Is Nick Cage, does he have anxiety? Does he have actual tics? Does he have or is the placebo teaching him that stuff was just stuff that was, his own making or his own doing? Because that's a kind of a treacherous path to kind of go into
the
there.
movie's prepared to wrestle with that, to be honest. We can't trust anything the therapist says because he's a bad guy. He's a criminal. So when he says, you don't need medication, that's not, I don't think we can trust that as a trained opinion. At the same time, he gives him placebos and it works. Now, I know, I think placebo are one of the scariest things in the entire world when you start diving into how powerful they can actually be, because studies show even when people know they're being given a placebo, it often works. So I don't know. I don't think the movie is trying to grapple with any of that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I would ultimately conclude that a lot of it was based on what you were talking about Chris, about how this is not the life that he wants to lead. And so it's manifesting from that, I believe. And then as he gets closer to the life he knows he should be living, it starts to fade away. I don't know.
To me, it's just a Hollywood interpretation of someone who has issues. There's not, I don't think they're diagnosing anything in particular here. They just need Nicolas Cage to have something that goes on with him throughout the whole thing. And if I were to armchair psychiatrist this movie that is armchair psychiatrying, it would just be that he is, exactly, getting back to this, he's just unhappy with his life. He is so meticulous about what he does that any error could cause a problem of some sort. So that's why he does that at the house, like make sure that the door is open and closed 3 times and make sure that the carpet doesn't have any threads coming out of it and all that. It's all a part of everything that he does as far as conning is concerned. Once you start fretting about any kind of mistakes that you can make, that's where that sort of comes in or whatever. But again, that's armchair psychiatry there. I mean, that's for people who actually have that OCD or whatever, it's probably a variety of things that cause that.
I read an article a year or so ago that basically said for several decades, the CIA considered anxiety a superpower, basically, and tried to hire all the anxious people they could because they make the best spies because they're concerned about every single fucking detail and they're paranoid all the time. I think they've stopped doing that, maybe, hopefully, because...
well, finding the difference between hypervigilance and anxiety is probably you can be hypervigilant and not have anxiety, but most people who have anxiety, I would imagine, have some level of hypervigilance.
Yes.
Well, the other thing I wanted to say is I do like... this time through, even because I didn't really see it last time through, what the movie is saying about his escape. you know, his escape was not going to be doing one last big con like he thought it was. His escape was actually to be destroyed. Like that was his actual way out. And I think that's really interesting because what movies usually do is they want to bring you to the euphoria of one last job, right? Mm-hmm. And the movie pretends to do that and takes you in what I think is a more or a less hypocritical way, a more honest way of, you know, when you're in the con business, the way out is, you know, to be destroyed, whether that's being caught or being conned in this case. So,
yeah. All right. Let's go on to our super secret double feature.
Be very, very quiet.
Secret? What secret?
Our dirty little secret.
I tell you something I've never told anyone.
Aaron, what do you got? I've got a couple.
I have a couple too, but the one I landed on, and maybe I'll talk about the other one after we hear yours, but the one I landed on was Kajillionaire. Now, this is a movie that has flown way under the radar, I think. I really enjoyed it. It is a movie starring Evan Rachel Wood as the child of two con artists. Richard Jenkins and Deborah Winger play her parents.
Oh, I remember this movie.
This was prime pandemic movie. Like this came out in 2020. And Gina Rodriguez is in here as well. Divine Joy Randolph is in here as well. Who since won an Oscar, right? Didn't Divine get her Oscar?
Yeah, so, one for the holdovers.
Yep. So a really great cast doing really great work. The reason I landed on this one is there is a parent-child dynamic in this that I found very similar to what was going on in Matchstick Men. And the con stuff is a little less like fun and a little more grounded in the darkness of it, although there is the, you know, it's definitely humor here. This is definitely a con-com. I don't know what you would call it, but it's definitely a comedy. But it's kind of one of those, you know, modern rooted comedies where it's also authentic and goes into some stuff. So yeah, it's good.
They should have a convention of cons called Con.
Yes, the Con.
Yeah, the Con. Yeah, exactly. Because you con.
Exactly.
Yep. Mine is another kind of straightforward one, but it has the father-daughter relationship, and it's Paper Moon. I don't know if have you guys ever seen Paper Moon?
I don't think so.
Peter Bogdanovich did this movie. It's Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal. And Ryan O'Neal picks up a girl at a funeral. I think it's his wife dies. He doesn't know whether or not it's his daughter or not. And he is planning on taking her across country to somebody else. And he does a series of cons all the way through it. And of course he finds out that she is very good at conning people as well. And one of the early ones that you see in the movie is she comes in to pay for something at a store, and then she says, I paid you with a 20 and you only gave me change for a 5 or a 10 or something. And the clerk is like, no, you didn't, and blah, blah. And she goes, yeah, you did. I gave you a 20 that had said happy birthday to my darling granddaughter on it or whatever. And something that Ryan O'Neal paid with earlier in the movie. Oh, man. And so then they go back in and she goes back in and finds the 20, and then it gives her change for the 20 instead of the 10. And then, you know, and then you see the person on the register count through all the money, and they're like, wait a minute, that's not right. Whatever. But Paper Moon's great. I would call this a low-key small recommend, by the way, Paper Moon, if you have never seen it. So
nice.
It's on my watch list. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but man, that sounds like a perfect double feature. With Matchstick Men. The other one I was thinking of was the Apple TV Plus one from last year called Sharper. I think a lot of people missed. Sebastian Stan, Julianne Moore, John Lithgow, and it is a really intricate con person movie, and it reminded me of, like, you know, the day when you'd have Dirty Rotten Scoundrels or those kind of things. It's pretty smart. I don't know if it's like a great movie, but it's a fun con watch. So
yeah. My other one was Heist, David Mamet movie that came out in the early 2000s. where basically the movie could have just been called Double Cross the movie. It's one of those things where it's like you think you know where it's gonna end up, and then like, nope, I knew this all along, or this is what I did the whole time, or whatever. So
they couldn't use that title because Reindeer Games was already called Double Cross the movie.
That's true. That's true. And of course, again, Spanish Prisoner coming up again. Spanish Prisoner has a lot of elements in this, especially with all the sheer volume of people that are involved in the con of one person throughout the entire thing. So that was another one that popped up. But I figured this would be a good time to mention paper.
And then Mel Gibson made Triple Cross the movie.
Triple Cross.
Which is Passion of the Christ. So
that's right. Passion of the Christ. That's right. Correct. That's correct. That's great. Don't let your church hear that one. All right. So there is no homework this week. That's such a weird thing to talk about here. No homework. This is our final episode. We are going to go into our remaining questions that we have left that we got. I think we answered these 6 months ago. We've had them for filler for a long time. So let's go ahead and get those done, and then we'll open it up to chat. So let's go on to questions.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I'm listening.
All right. What is the most 90s film ever? All right, I've got 3 on this one. Go is one of the most 90s films ever.
Good call.
Can't Hardly Wait is another big one. And starring this Matchstick Men's Sheila Kelly, Singles, is also on this list. So Singles is like that early 90s grunge. I think it didn't know how 90s it was at the time it came out, but it became one of the biggest 90s movies ever at that point. And I don't think anybody wrote this down, but Reality Bites certainly fits that 90s thing as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I put either Last Action Hero. Just feels so 90s to me because it goes from the action of the 80s and it combines the meta-ness that was starting to creep in the 90s. And so Last Action Hero or Hackers. Hackers feels,
Hackers is
so
definitely
90s,
there.
That's good.
Yeah. Almost anything computer, by the way. The net and that type of stuff.
The net.
That girl from the bus.
Yeah.
I wrote down Empire Records, as a 90s SF movie. I don't actually enjoy it. I enjoy watching it, but it's 90s as hell, to me at least.
Anyway. Over in the chat, we've got nominations for The Mummy. We also have Fight Club, and we have Clueless, which I totally agree with on that one. Clueless is a big one. Slab says The Net, Virtuosity, and Hackers. Those are all, the computer technology stuff. You might even want to throw Disclosure in there with, I think Jeremy always brings up the VR that's in that movie.
Yep.
And then Shaggy says Mallrats, and Tatsu says The Matrix is 90s. It's the 90s. It's for sure. A lot of these are 99, but they're still 90s. Nolan says Office Space. Yeah, they're very, very 90s movies for sure. Let's go on to the next question. Let's see. What are some of your favorite film scores you haven't talked much about? I don't know if I feel like I have brought this up before, but John Williams's JFK score is another one of those that kind of fits into that whole. You don't know it's John Williams, but you know you love it when you're listening to it and everything. You're just like, who did this? It doesn't sound like any of his Spielberg scores at all, and it's a fantastic one. And also, Alan Silvestri's Predator score is one that's great. You can hear the tones of Back to the Future in that Predator score when you're watching it, but it's a fantastic score.
I put How to Train Your Dragon. I have talked about it, but I don't think I talk about it enough as maybe a top 5 score. Like, it is so good. Like when it kicks in, it is It's why I don't know if I like the new live action version or not, because I watch it and it has the same score and I'm just like, I love this so much. But yeah, that score is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my favorite, not commonly known names, it is to movie buffs, is Thomas Newman as a composer.
Yeah.
And he did Shawshank and American Beauty, and he has a fairly signature boom, 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 boom. But one of my favorite scores of his is Wall-E.
Yeah.
Especially that segment when Wall-E is flying through space with the fire extinguisher, and it changes completely and gets just like delightfully awed by space. Anyway, I really like Thomas Newman, and Wall-E, I think, is a Pixar score that is probably top 2 or 3 for me.
He also did the Finding Nemo score too. Is
Also
another good
an
one.
incredible score.
Yeah. Over in the chat, Nolan says the score for Deep Red is crazy, dude. I can second that. That's a great one. Tatsu says Coraline is a good one. I haven't seen Coraline in forever, so. Yeah. Let's see. The Dream Ballet. James says the Dream Ballet from I'm Thinking of Ending Things is my favorite score of this decade, and it's not even close. Lang says The Nightmare Before Christmas. That's a great one for sure. JC Seconds, How to Train Your Dragon. Josh says Waves. I can totally agree with that. I remember the score to Waves quite a bit. Bones and All, Mutant Mayhem, aforementioned Social Network. Yeah, isn't a great one for sure. Let's see. And then JC also brings up Apollo 13 on this. Let's see. Let's go to the last question we have. Oh boy, it's a good thing we're ending this show, or we'd never be able to come up with any more questions. What is the best original and remake are excellent examples that you can think of? And this one ties in pretty easily to something we've done. The Wages of Fear and Sorcerer. You cannot go wrong with either one of those movies. I like Sorcerer better, but The Wages of Fear is also fantastic, and it's got a lot of it's different from Sorcerer too in a lot of ways. So if you haven't seen one or the other, watch both. It doesn't matter.
I would go with the Pelham movies. Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Interesting.
I love both of those movies for different reasons. I think they're very different movies. The original has perhaps my favorite ending of a movie ever. It's so good, and Mathau is so perfect in that moment. The look on his face. So yeah, I would recommend those movies.
Denzel made 5 movies with Tony Scott, and there's not a bad one in the bunch for me. My answer to this question is Cape Fear. A couple of years ago, I finally went back and watched the original Cape Fear, which I had never seen. It's Robert Mitchum. I think it's Robert Mitchum. And he plays, both of the leads play differently than you're familiar with Nick Nolte and De Niro, but still A+ movie all the way through. You could watch those. They're not one of them better than the other. They're both perfect.
Over in the chat, we have Slab says The Thing and The Thing. And
the thing.
That's right. Josh says, I like both versions of the movie Sabrina, and that's not exactly my genre, but good films is good films. Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of people hated that Harrison Ford remake back in the 90s, but I very much enjoyed it. So. And Josh says, then there's that Iron Man remake called Big Hero 6. He said that's just for Dicer. I don't remember that inside joke at all. So, all right. So we have opened up the chat to questions here. And the first one that I see, and see, this is going to be tough too, because we didn't answer these so like to think of some of these right off the top of our head is going to be hard, I think, at times, but maybe we can come up with some answers. JC asked, if you had to pick your top 3 films from all of Recotopia that you didn't recommend, what would you consider?
Meaning that somebody else recommended, I'm assuming?
No, I think just that I took it as just that we didn't get to recommend at all. Like one's still on our list of, it'd been really fun to talk about that.
Oh, okay. I can answer that question all day.
Oh man, I don't know if I can, but
I got a list. I got a list of like 50.
I should have written down a list, but I never did. I was always, when it was my turn, I would always be just go through sort of this kind of mental Rolodex of movies, and it's not like that's a, you know, a formed list or anything, but I think even though this movie is a popular movie or whatever, The Hunt for Red October would have been a fun one to do, especially since I know Jeremy loves McTiernan and I love McTiernan. I'm not sure about Aaron Dicer's, but Hunt for Red October was one that for sure. And you guys go ahead. I can think of some more while you guys.
Well, I should state that I've had this list since we started this show, and every time it's my turn, I go through the list and I Google to see if any of them are available for streaming, and many of them have not been. But this is not a list of like my favorite movies of all time, because that's not how I approach this show. I approach this show like trying to help you see things you haven't seen before. So I think the three I would answer is the Melissa McCarthy movie, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which is one of her only serious roles. And I was really impressed with her in that movie, and I don't think a lot of people have seen it. Another one I've got is... I just found it, Jeremy. Alpha Dog. Which we've talked about a lot, but we've never made an actual recommend. And then, let's see. Oh, Courage Under Fire. I know Chris and I both love that movie.
Oh yeah, that would have been one that I would have come up with later on. Courage Under Fire is definitely there for sure.
You guys will have to help me a little bit. I didn't pull up the list, and I came into this partway through the 190 episodes or whatever. So if I say one you've already done, that's great, exciting times.
At you.
But I thought of The Revenant. Did we do The Revenant?
Nope.
I thought that would be a really interesting one to go back to and explore in detail. Tick, Tick, Boom was one that I thought would have been a lot of fun to do. And the one that I would want to do maybe after a couple more years, give it some time, would be Conclave. I really think there's a lot of interesting discussion to be had watching that movie in detail. And so that was one. And the chat mentioned one for me that was always right on the cusp of like, is this the big recommend I want to do, which is Swing Kids. Swing Kids is one of my favorite movies, and to make you guys watch that and talk about it with me would have been a lot of fun. But
I should let you guys know, listeners and chat alike, you came this close to this last episode being the big recommend of Time Cop, because I love that movie, and I don't think enough people have seen it. But ultimately, I could not bring myself to end the show on a movie I know is objectively not good. That's why I went with Matchstick.
Oh, it would have been fun though. And the same thing goes for another one that I thought about was Demolition Man. Would have been a great one to do. Yeah. One other that I thought of was After Hours, the Martin Scorsese movie that came out in the 80s that is very not Scorsese, but like it would have been a fun one to go over. So that's definitely in that list. So Nolan says, are you guys going to do a 2025 year in review still? No, this is this is going to be the end. And I know I was sitting there thinking that too at one point, but no, we're not going to do the end of 2025. I'm sure you guys can follow Aaron. I'm sure Aaron will have his own thing going for that.
Yeah,
so.
I guess I would say, Sif Pop, which is the other podcast I have done, is also on a little bit of a hiatus, but we're doing like one episode a quarter, and one that we will do is the year-end awards, those kind of things. We'll talk about a lot of the 2025 movies. So, so yeah.
Shaggy says, do you have a favorite Cinemasins podcast? Mine would be March Madness. That was a lot of fun, the March Madness, where we seeded movies and we had gone through a best of since the years we were alive, since 1975, and then we put all those movies in a bracket, and and then we had some very surprising things like When Harry Met Sally beating Do the Right Thing and things like that. And what was it? What beat LA Confidential again?
Sideways.
No. Oh well, it wasn't. Yeah, it was later on in the Sideways beat it in the big brackets. But I was thinking for whatever reason within the year of the movie, when we finally came up with the number one of the year. But that works too because it went into the brackets. Sideways beat LA Comedy.
Sideways is about a struggling author, and I was a struggling author at this season of my life, and that movie resonated with me. I'll never forget that listener who said, I told my film school professor about this, and he said, "You guys are so wrong."
I mean, that's what happens when you leave it up to three people to vote on something. That's what happens. You got your preferences and whatever. I would say that's probably my favorite of all the stuff we've done, but there's a few other special kind of episodes too. I mean, being able to talk to like Dolph Lundgren on a interview was one of the funnest things I've ever had to do, and people like Rennie Harlan, when they were doing these very small movies and they were able to do the small circuit interviews and everything, we were one of them. So I was really enjoyed
Leonard
doing those.
Maltin.
Yeah,
Leonard Maltin and his daughter Jessie, and that was pretty special.
No, I think of Recotopia. My favorite is L'Orange, and
that was so much fun.
Yeah, that was such a good one. So right now having trouble remembering who was with him. Yeah, it was Solemn. Yeah, doing Leprechaun 2 or 3 or 4.
3?
I can't remember.
Single-handedly bringing down your IMDb average as Leprechaun 2. The fact that we did it is a big
I should shout out Slab. He sent us some stats about Recotopia over the years, and I will willingly tell you, Jeremy, had the lowest overall rating of my collective recommends. And I think that's just about right, honestly. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I love that. I would have been fine if mine was like 5.5 or whatever. The point is, this is a movie I dig. Maybe you'll dig it too.
Exactly. I have a couple episodes that stand out. One would just be the aforementioned year in review. That's my jam. I love talking about all the movies over the course of time and ranking them and talking about them. So those were always my favorite. And then I really liked the live ambulance pod that we did from Sin Week. That was a lot of fun. I remember listening back to that and just thinking, man, that was a good time. So
was that the one where Jonathan said it was better than Batman and I crawled across the room under my table? Yeah.
Are there any other particular stats that you'd like to share? Do we want to send out a link to Slab's stats, or is there anything that you want to put a light on that?
No, he just went through and it showed like which directors we chose their work most often and which actors had been in most of the movies. And it's interesting. I'd love to find a way to share it with everybody. I'm not sure.
Actually, I can do that. Let's keep talking. I'll pull it up on Letterboxd and put the image on the screen for people to see some of the stats and stuff.
He can put it on the Discord too, so that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest not surprise is we did more Steven Soderbergh movies than any director. We did 4 of his, I believe. And
but second was Frank Oz, as mentioned recently.
Kind of crazy.
Which is hilarious to me.
And somehow David Twohy gets up there with 2 and
that's the kind of stuff I found like super interesting, was the ones that stood out. Like there were a couple in the actor category where it was like, how do we do so many of their movies? But I'll pull it up here and we can look at it.
Going to James in the chat, he wrote this earlier, and I wanted to get to this, and I'm glad it's being highlighted again. He says, if this is the end of at least Chris and Jeremy talking in podcast form, it's the end of an era. You both and various co-hosts have kept me company for a solid decade. And your interests, camaraderie, generosity for fans like me who respect your points of view have gotten me through some real tough, rough patches. I miss the Sincast, and I'll miss Recotopia more than you know. Thanks for that, James. We are going to miss not only doing the podcast, but people like you who definitely had sort of reacted in this way to any of the things that we've ever done. And I don't think that Jeremy and I started Cinemasins in any way expecting that type of reaction from people. And then we started getting emails, people saying that we helped them through rough times and things like that. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't honestly believe it. And so, and still to this day, it surprises me. I'm glad that you told us that. So
yeah, I think it's important for a moment. There's the stats to point out. We love the chat, and we say it every week, and it's much deserved. But also, those of you who don't come to the live chat but just listen, we love you too. We appreciate that you listen, even if you're not able to join us live or participate. What are we looking at here, Aaron?
So this is the whole list. So you can see there are 187 films that were big recommends on this list. Almost 350 hours of movie watching, if you were to watch them all. 167 different directors, which is always fun. 23 different countries and 11 different languages. So good on us for broadening out a little bit. The biggest year was 1997. That's probably not a surprise considering our ages. I think we were all right in prime movie watch everything mode in the late 90s. So 97 is number one. 2013 had 9 films, and then it kind of goes down from there. Genre, drama was the highest genre. Comedy was second. Looks like
We hate sci-fi.
Let's go with cast. John Cusack tied with De Niro for the actor we recommended the most. What is
I would
that?
have never guessed that.
What is that?
How do
That's
we even
amazing.
do that? I'm trying to get my head around that.
I mean, we'd have to go back through.
Well,
and look.
some of them are a little suspect because the player is in there, and John Cusack has a brief cameo in that. Did Stand By Me was a big recommend, right? And he's in that briefly, and then you have Grosse Point Blank, and right now I'm drawing a complete blank on the other
Grosse Point
three.
Blank was the only one I could think of. That's wild.
The other one that sticks out to me is Shirley MacLaine. 4 Shirley MacLaine movies in our big recommends. So great. I love
it's
that.
pretty awesome.
Directors, some of the usual suspects, Soderbergh, Spielberg, Wilder, Hitchcock, and Frank Oz, of course. And you mentioned the David Twohy 2 films is interesting as well. Highs and lows. The highest average Letterboxd rating was 12 Angry Men with 4.6 rating on Letterboxd, and the lowest was Leprechaun 3 with a 2.6.
How could that be? How could that be?
The most popular, which I don't know their algorithm for determining that, but it's not just the rating, it's how much it's looked at, how much it's reviewed, those kind of things. But Eternal Sunshine is the most popularly reviewed. The most obscure was The Inspector General.
Right on.
Most obscure. The most recent big recommend is Civil War, which we recently did. The oldest was The Immigrant, 1917. And then the longest was Lawrence of Arabia that we did. And the shortest was also The Immigrant at 24 minutes. So yeah, that's the Letterboxd of it all. Some interesting stuff there for sure.
A lot of people in the chat saying they're going to miss us, and we appreciate you guys there. It is tough doing this, but I know it's just one of those things. It's time. It's time to go. It's time to move on, and can't do it forever. And we've Jeremy and I both hit that point.
I did see somebody asking the chat, is Cinemasins ending? And no. Chris and I are just easing into the background a bit. We're going to be much less involved. I'm going to write some books and stuff, tinker with some other ideas. But Cinemasins is going to carry on strong, and you never know. You may see us again popping in here or there somewhere.
And I'm sorry if I've missed anything over in the chat, but I'll go to a couple more here before we go. And Nan says, long-time listener, first time and only chat. Thank you for all the years of this entertainment podcast. I'm sorry this had to be your very first time being in the chat, but thank you so much for that comment. JC says, y'all have gotten me through things in the past few years, like my mom passing earlier this year. It helped to have the podcast, and I appreciated the Sins team reach out over it. Jeremy, I'm still sorry I missed your message for 3 weeks. And, you know, we all understand that type of stuff for sure. On that note, that's going to do it for this episode and this podcast. I would have never guessed that we would have been doing this for almost 10 years when we started doing it. I don't consider myself a podcaster in any way. Like, is it like the name that you hear when you hear somebody like, that guy's a podcaster? I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have any idea what that's like. No, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I never thought it would get to this point. But once again, I want to say thank you to everybody who listened to us over the years, and I'll yield the floor to the rest of you guys.
I've had a lot of fun doing this. This particular podcast, Recotopia, has exposed me to a lot of great films that I had not seen before. And I'm just personally thankful for that aspect of the show. But it has felt like a community with the chat. Usually a lot of the same names and faces popping in. And I'm proud of all that we've done. And I'm excited about what all three of us are going to do in the near future. So,
Yep.
I am eternally grateful for the opportunity to do this kind of work with you guys. It has been a privilege to be invited into this space, which was not my space. I didn't invent this space. I didn't, so to be invited in was a huge privilege. I'm going on almost a decade working with Cinemasins in various ways, writing and doing different things. And even after a decade, I feel like the luckiest fan who got a chance to be a part of the thing he was a fan of. And so I appreciate you in a general sense for that, and in a very specific sense for this podcast, for letting me step into a third chair for a while and get to chat movies with you guys. That's very, very humbling, and it's been so much fun. And I'm excited for the future, whatever that looks like, both for you two as you find a little more time behind the scenes to do some other things, and also the future of podcasting and videos on YouTube and stuff through the Cinemasins universe. There's going to be some cool stuff coming, so stay subbed to this feed. You never know what might pop up in the future. Stay subbed to the channels. We're going to continue to have a lot of fun together, and I'm looking forward to it as much as I am lamenting not getting a chance to do it with you guys again. So, yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate those words, Aaron. And, with that, that's going to be the final sign off. Once again, chat, thank you for coming out. We appreciate you. That's going to be it for Recotopia. We will, I guess, see you hopefully sometime in the future.
We love you.
Love you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Hope you find your dad, buddy.
Be a part of the live show by being a member of the Sin Club at Patreon at patreon.com/cinemasins. Chat with us on the Cinemasins Discord at discord.gg/cinemasins, or Cinemasins Twitter at cinemasins, and email any comments or questions to recotopia@cinemasins.com. That's RECOTOPIA at cinemasins.com.
Darren is the one that has to click to put us in. So how did Chris get in? And I'm not in. I'm in backstage. But Chris is on stage. Doesn't seem fair.
Good thing I didn't say, boy, Jeremy's a piece of shit.
Can't wait to be done with this fucking show with that.
Yeah,
fucking
exactly. Fucking motherfuckers.
The real reasons come out when mics are accidentally left on. I'm getting up early tomorrow to travel too, but I had I broke a cardinal rule of my post middle-aged life, which is to eat pizza after 7:00 p.m. There's something about the red sauce that is just a heartburn thing, and so it's like Hello, Pepsid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Help me sleep.
2 or 3 in the morning, all of a sudden it's like, why does my chest feel diseased?
I read yesterday a study of 1,000 people found that people who eat cheese at least once a week have like a 0.5% less chance of getting dementia. So boom, in your face,
Interesting.
non-cheese eaters. But that article actually said that this means there's no direct correlation. It's just an association. But I still thought it was interesting.
I see.
Because I eat cheese every day.
Yeah, I'm same.
I'm a cheese slut.
Which is funny because having just watched Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, there's so much about Wallace being a big cheese eater in that.
He's a cheese hound, and I think all the Wallace and Gromits, he's big into cheese.
Yeah, he is. It's just funny because part of the plot of that movie is that he doesn't eat enough vegetables. So so he's trying to eat his cheese like he always does, and Grommit is like trying to put celery and stuff in front of him and everything. So
God bless Wallace and Gromit.
That is an all. I would say that's an all-time. I will probably say this in the podcast too, but that's an all-time Dicer movie right there. Like, or just Wallace and Gromit in general.
I mean, there's a reason why the only picture I took at the last awards was me with Nick Park. Like, I mean, you know.
Man, I tried. I told you. So first off, it's easy to tell why Now You See Me 3 isn't going to make it. It's also easy to see, I guess a lot of people don't realize The Running Man is such a disappointment. It's just, I don't know. It was fine up until the last 30 minutes for me. Fine though, only fine. It wasn't great. And then I was not enamored with Wicked 2, even though it's making all the money. And so then I was like, all right, yesterday I was like, I'm going to have to watch something that I like. Damn it. I'm going to go to the Criterion collection. We're going to find something. And I found a movie called Good Morning, which is a Japanese Ozu movie from 1959. And I started watching. I was like, what is the point of this movie? I mean, it's fine. It's totally fine. I might even recommend it to Aaron. I think Aaron might like this movie. I don't think Jeremy would like this movie.
Which one is this?
And it's called Good Morning.
Okay.
And it's basically about two kids who can't get a TV, and they decide to go with the silent treatment with everybody, and their silent treatment is consequential through the neighborhood because they decide to not speak to anybody, but it's not super consequential. It's not like, whoa, oh man. Now maybe this is part of the point. The movie does lead you down the road that they're not talking is going to lead to something disastrous, and it doesn't. So it never gets to that point. And then I watched a movie called Man Bites Dog, which is a fake documentary style movie where it follows a guy who is just clearly just a murderer. And I don't know if you guys ever saw Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is like a horror movie. That movie came out in 2006. Man Bites Dog is a French movie that came out in 1992. They're both kind of similar in that way, but like, the movie's comment is the media is complicit with the crimes that people like this commit and so on and so forth. And basically you're just seeing this guy like just killing people in front of a documentary crew the entire time and doing just horrible, horrible things. And there's some really dark humor in it. For about 30 minutes, I was like, I think I might be able to recommend this. And then it just, oh man, I just can't recommend a movie that fucking violent, man. I just can't. The oddest thing in the world just happened. So I came back. I started talking, and you guys were like, "You think he's still talking?" And I was like, "Is this a fucking? Did you guys decide to do this to fuck with me while I was gone?" Because I was sitting there like just like I am right now, and you guys were like, "You think he's still talking? Maybe he just went completely out." And I'm like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah, that's why I can't do Wicked or Running Man either, especially Running Man. Running Man just is one of those movies, the further away I get from it, I'm just like, what a mess.
Yeah.
Really,
What do you
So
suppose
disappointing.
happened there? I mean, it seems to be
no idea.
universally considered a mess, and this dude hasn't really had a huge misfire in his career.
Yeah, I still think this is my going hypothesis on this one. I think Stephen King got involved with this movie because he's an executive producer on it. And I think he really wanted something that was really close to the book, or else he wasn't going to allow it to be remade. So apparently that's, you hear Jonathan on Slack, he says it's really close except for a couple of things. The character obviously is not the same. Glenn Powell is miscast, but it seems like it's apparently fairly faithful to the adaptation. So he did the same thing with The Shining. He didn't like the Kubrick Shining because it completely misrepresented what he was trying to say in the book. So then in the 90s, he does that one with Steven Weber that came out, and, it's not all that good. It's got its fans, but it's one of those type of things where, maybe you should have just, I don't know. I get it. If you're an author and you see a thing a certain way in your head, you'd love to see it that way on the big screen at some point. I get it. But man, that first Running Man is so perfect in its 80s cheesiness and Schwarzenegger at his height and everything. We don't really need another. I feel like we could have updated it, just not that way.
It seems like movies think they know better than books, right? Because they're always making big changes, and sometimes, I mean, obviously you have to, because there's a lot more material in a book than you can cover in a movie. But it feels like there are a bunch of authors. Lee Child, the guy who wrote Percy Jackson, didn't like the first adaptation. Christopher Paolini, who wrote Aragon, didn't like the adaptation of his movie.
Yep.
And it just feels like,
And the guy who did The Reacher didn't like the
Lee
Jack
Child,
Reacher
but yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Oh, Lee Child. Yeah.
but yeah, it just seems like that's a really common thing.
Yeah. I was sitting there going, Lee Child, the guy who did Percy Jackson. I was like, yeah.